Welcome to Cultural Nepal. Today we have Dr. Shova Hamal as a guest to discuss on Skype more on women and children of Nepal. Dr. Hamal is an associate professor of sociology and women and gender studies at Southern Utah University and program director of SUU's Nepal Studies program. She was born and raised in Kathmandu in a loving, caring traditional family. However, she came out of the traditional boundaries to marry her husband from Gurung family, following him all the way to America. Here, she struggled through marriage and family obligations to balance her professional life successfully. Her recent work on Nepal migrant women has received a lot of praise. Today, we would like to invite Professor Hamal through Skype for an informal discussion about her life, her book, and her insight as an immigrant mother in America. Welcome to Culture Nepal. Thank you for giving us your time to discuss women and children of Nepal today with the expertise that you have, Dr. Hamal. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay. So, Dr. Hamal, you recently published a book on migrant Nepali women in America, which has got a lot of praise, and you even got the award for this. Could you please tell us about your book?
Yeah, this book is about the Nepali female migrant who work in the informal economic sectors in Boston and New York. And when I say informal economic sectors, I'm referring to domestic work, care work, service work. So this book is about their successes. This book is about their challenges, and this book is about their, strength and courages and everything. It's about their lives.
Yes, you have been working in this social sector for many years as a student and as a researcher. But what inspired you to write this particular book? Is there anything special happened or?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking me that question. Actually, like these women, I myself, is a migrant, and I went to school in Boston area in late 90s, and then that time I didn't see that many female migrating or moving to the US and working in the informal economic sectors. But when I got back from Nepal in late 90s, I saw that flow, rapid flow of Nepali, women coming to America and working in the informal economic sectors. So I think professionally, what really, sort of inspired me to get involved this book is to understand the reasons and ramifications of women's migrations and to analyze labor and gender dynamics in the informal and co-ethnic labor markets, and to document these women's work, family, and community lives, and most importantly, to make these women's lives, their contributions visible.
I know that you have been born and raised in quite a traditional, loving, caring families of Nepal, Nepali culture, and you have been very brave to come out of that traditional values and belief system, and you married to somebody out of your own niche, and that was quite inspiring and challenging. And then not only you did that, you came to America with him and raised a child. Can you tell us more about how difficult it was to raise a child in Nepal as a native, and then come here as an immigrant mother and raise a child. What were the challenges, and did you see the similar challenges to other migrant women in America?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Actually, I didn't have that many challenges when I was raising my son in Nepal because he was not even two. So when I came here, he was about 18 months, and I had a whole, a large network of family and community members there who would take participate in raising him. So in fact, I didn't have to worry about my son while I was in Nepal. But when I came here, then everything was everything me and my the other family members here in the US, they we had to actually balanced our life a lot. We had to make arrangement, and then not only was I a Nepali female migrant, but I was also a student. So it was very, very hard for me to actually balance my work and academic and the family lifestyle. And yeah, there are social issues, and there are cultural issues, and there are political issues in relation to our immigration status. Because I was international student, and I could not work full time outside. And then, there are lots of economic challenges, and I see that these women who are working in the informal economic sectors, they are facing the same challenges in relation to their immigration status and in relation to their, family support and community input. But what I'm also saying is that these women are, they are building community, and they are pulling resources in raising their children also. But
So,
there's a great deal of challenges, of course.
so have you seen those challenges a little bit lesser now that there's more populations of immigrant Nepali mothers than when there were less, or has
If
that
Yeah,
distracted a little bit more? How like
no,
what
I
was?
think it's definitely better. I have seen actually in bigger cities. I have seen the Nepali classes run by the Nepali community, and then the parents are very very eager to teach their children the cultural and then the academic aspect of Nepali culture. So definitely having a bigger Nepali community definitely helps a
Yes.
lot.
Yes. And so, from your book, what were the important discoveries that you have found, or the conclusion you have found doing the research on those struggling immigrant Nepali women?
I mean, the book is the pioneer in documenting the gender experiences of educated and professional women. This is the pioneer, very first book, right? And this book also makes visible the invisible women and their contributions. And the book also documents a number of social, cultural, and political, economic, including global factors that are involved in Nepali women's decision to immigrate or migrate to the US. And also, there's a great myth or perception about immigrant and migrant women working in the informal economic sectors. So this book actually dismantles, that myth, because these women who work in the informal economic sectors, they are, relatively, educated and professional. So up until now, even the popular culture tries to portray that the caregivers, service worker, or the nannies or domestic helpers are uneducated, poor women. That is not the case. So this study is, I mean, very unique in that sense. And so it moves beyond the model of victimization of uh, third world women in the informal labor market. So dismantles that model, and it also illustrates the simultaneous exploitation of Nepali women as a worker and themselves as agent of empowerment. So yes, these women experience labor exploitations based on their race, gender, right? But these women are also the very very active in transnational activism. So there is that women's empowerment and then women's labor exploitations. both of these issues go side by side. And also it also indicates the paradoxical relationship between the Indian employer and the Nepali women who work in the service sector. It shows the very interesting dynamic. Yeah, at one hand, there is that cultural similarities, right? There are social capital through which both of these employer and employee they are attracted to each other, but that did not liberate the labor exploitations. But most importantly, I think this book is invaluable to the study of transnational communities. It documents a dimension of women's transnational practices at different levels. For example, from beginning migration to obtaining a job in the US, these women constantly use their transnational connection and networks. Similarly, from allocating remittances and resources individually or collectively in the host country to mobilize the community in the homeland, these women actively participate in transnational practices. So, by building their lives and communities across the nation and continents, these women also bring and bind together local and transnational families and communities, right? So, the book is also about women's empowerment and women's as a agent of societal change. And women are change agent engaged in transnational community building. So women's narratives capture their transnational citizenship and global civic citizenship.
Also, how have you viewed about this Nepali cultural values of respecting mothers and children? There's human aspects and spiritual aspects of dedication to raising child, not only with education, but it's a heart and passion that brings into the American community where the children gets the most value.
Right.
So what is your observations, and what have you found in that aspects?
Like in what ways parents or mothers are trying
Like
to.
Nepali mothers, like in Nepali culture, mothers are very dedicated to the children, not only their own children, but that compassion to raise child, give it all, with the dedication and for health and well-being of a child. Those migrant Nepali mothers who come here, not just for the work, but with the qualification and the dedication, the values that it provides to the community here to raise
Right.
children. Have you done any, observations or findings in that area? I'm just curious.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, most of these, the Nepali migrant worker, most of them are mothers, and most of them are here for their children, because many of them had that point when I was researching. That point they had left their children back home. So these women were working so hard to make a home for their children.
Yes, so they're
So
making.
there is a great of passion and dedications, and most of the time these women are, I mean, they are doing it for their children and for their families. There is that, but also these women, I mean, those who work in the who are who were at that point were care providers, they definitely took care of their employers children
As their
as a
own.
mother,
As a mother,
and
and when they take care of their employer's children, they don't see that as an employer's children, but they kind of give and pour out their love and care as if they're their own children, right? More so.
right. They did that for that reason. Many of these women ended up working more than 12 or 14 hours. For them, it was ongoing work hours, because yes, these women, their work schedule was from 7 or 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But their work, the work day did not actually end at 5 p.m. because yes, these women, as a Nepali mother, by their instinct or by their the culture, they took care of these children beyond their this the working time. Yes, and they cooked for them. They taught them Nepali language or Hindi language, and they sort of, even, I remember one research participant saying that, how she, how she actually had to dance whenever the baby used to cry. So she used to dance for this baby, So yes, the cooking and constant care was there. They were the Nepali mothers were also entertainer in that sense, because they would sing, they would dance for these babies also.
Yes. So
Yeah.
if there is one thing, you mentioned that there was a challenges of getting a paper like proper visa, and then economic challenges, and then family, balancing family life and professional life, and giving up their education and their own well-being, and with this massive challenges of this immigrant Nepali woman, if we have to find one thing that can help them, what would that be? Do you
I
have?
mean, first of all, we have to make their, contributions, their work experiences visible. First, we need to know, right? What are they going through? We need to know their challenges. So to do that, we need to, listen to their stories and learn their experiences. And then we can definitely, invite them to the public forum, or, we can invite them to be a, major player in Nepali diaspora, right, and to share their stories. And from there, we can, both of us, the women themselves and ourselves, we can sit together, we can have a conversation, we can share, our experiences, and then we can identify, in what ways we can help them out. I don't think that there's a solution. I don't think that we can just go and say we can help them this way. I think we need to learn from them the ways that we can help them. Perhaps, some of them need some kind of, basic information about the cities, about the infrastructure, about, the public transportations, about, the driving license and that sort of things. And perhaps the other women, they need another kind of, information. I think, first of all, we need to, sit together. We need to invite them in public forums, and then in any kind of community engagement or social, events. And then, we can request them to share their stories. You can ask them to, ask them in what way we can help them.
Right. So more like, if I can summarize it, it's more like a community involvement, integrations, and education of the
Yes.
system would be
Yeah,
something very
integration, and
helpful.
then also let women identify their, issues and their needs. It should come from them. But I think what we can do is we can, make their, contributions, their challenges, their successes visible. But women should be a part of our, mainstream Nepali diaspora and the community.
Right. So I think I
Should
congratulate
not,
you.
again, if I have to add one thing, they should not be treated as a different community. These women who work in the informal economic sectors, they are, they should be a part of this, the mainstream Nepali, community.
Yes, and then they should be treated as a highly professional, passionate caregivers, if I should say, rather than it's a low-level manual, job kind of, versus professionally talented and valued.
Right, because I mean, these women are, working there, but then if you, read, or if you, learn about their contributions, you'll be amazed, because these women are the greatest philanthropies.
Right.
Because these women are working here so hard, they are, supporting their families and communities.
Right.
But these women are also, they move beyond that.
Right.
These women are supporting, children back home. They are supporting orphanage centers. They are, building temples. They are, sending money to the non-family members and the social organizations, which is very, very unique to this to this particular, group. And so far, those who have read the book, they ask me again and again why this is the, this pattern is so, unique. Why this is so unique to all the women? Why do these women want to contribute or send the remittance back home, not only to their family and community, but also non-family members and social organizations?
Right.
So in that sense, these women are, rising. They are rising above their, exploitative work conditions again.
Right.
We need to, in the larger, broader, scale and broader level, these women are, getting that recognitions, from their family, community, and non-family members and social organizations in international, context and level.
Right. So they come from this value of contributing, building community more than personal interest, and so they do contribute in a very very grassroots level for equality and yeah, the economic strength of whole community. And yeah, I agree.
Right, right. Not only the I think these women. What is also interesting about these women, one particular factor is that majority of them work, in NGOs, and they were NGO workers, social workers, and some of them, had their own NGOs. So they came from that background, and then they were pioneer in, establishing non-formal educations for, illiterate people, and then establishing or supporting orphanage children. So they came from that background, and also to add to this particular, sort of case or group is that I think there is something about the Nepali culture, that givingness, sharing, that, the sharing and the givingness is part of the Nepali culture, because we have seen our grandmothers and mothers, sending the resources, or, there is that kind of generosity,
Right.
even the, when I was doing my research in Nepal, while I was lamenting for not getting any, funding, I was amazed to see how the home-based carpet weaver, actually how she would share her, the beaten rice or the, mustard green from her,
Right.
kitchen
Yes.
garden. I was amazed,
No, we came
that's,
from
yeah,
that culture to put others before ourselves all
right,
along,
right.
and
Sharing, the
that
sharing and
reflects in
giving.
everything we do. And it's
Right.
hard in a community where you need to focus yourself rather than other, like, so it's there is a little bit of cultural disorientations for this woman that puts them in a tough situation and working hard and all that. So if they were understood well, they are the
Uh-huh.
yeah, they are the most contributing factor. So anything you would
So,
like to say about this
yeah,
particular book?
what I want to, what I want to, say again is that the women portrayed in this book, devote a great deal of time and energy to supporting their families and communities in Nepal, and the, non-family members and social organizations, right? And they sustain a migrant community in the U.S., and also they are very much engaged in transnational activism and non-profit work that spans borders or nation state. So for Nepali women migrants, the effect of their civic citizenship or agency and empowerment are far-reaching, which transcends the global boundaries. So in that sense, these women, women are very content,
Yes.
also in that sense. Yeah, they did talk about all these labor exploitation, low wage, poor work conditions, long working hours. But they were very very happy to be able to support their family, community, and non community members or family members back home. So I think that is very very inspiring to me. And
Yes.
I think I wanna share you one quote that would summarize most of women's narratives. So this is one restaurant and local NGO workers. Is from Boston, and I quote: "We can achieve empowerment through women's agencies and activism. If we organize and mobilize our strength and vision, we can accomplish any mission on any levels." And I end the quote. And this is pretty much what other research participant actually sort of conveyed to me.
Yeah. Well, that was really fabulous. I think you have done a tremendous job publishing this book and addressing these very important issues of Nepali migrant women. And I hope many people, almost, whoever is interested in Nepali culture, Nepali women in America, in a must-read book. And with
Thank
that, with that, and also I just wanted to ask you one question. So I had interviewed Rukmini Karki from Nepali Women's Global Network, and I just want to highlight that you were one of the founding members of that organization, which is doing fabulous job creating this community to support each other and share and care. So what actually prompted you to do that before you wrote this book? You also were involved in the community and you created this group. What do do you have anything to say about that organization, or where do you vision going this organization from, and
Yeah,
how?
actually, I was the board members twice, and I knew the pioneer members who actually put this together. And I served on their on the board twice. And before joining NWGN, I was part of the Greater Boston Nepalese community. I was also part of the Chalfal discussion forum. That time it was based at Harvard. So I was part of the Nepali community, when I was a graduate student. So it was very, very important for me to have that kind of connections, affiliations, to exchange our views and stories, and to share and to learn from each other, because we are migrant and immigrant here, and then we need to in order to sustain, in order to survive and thrive, we need each other.
Right.
It's a great way to engage in local grassroots level organizations. And I'm very, very happy that Nepali Women Global Network is doing amazing work. And there are also other organizations. The one particular that I really adore is also Adhikar, which is based in New York, and they are doing amazing work in terms of addressing labor migrations, in terms of exploitations, the informal undocumented labor workers. So yeah, so yes, there are many emerging Nepali organizations, and they are doing amazing work.
Thank you, Dr. Hamal. We have discussed about your book. Now let's move on to some of other works, important works you have done through your research and studies, particularly on sexual trafficking in Nepal. You have worked with this very important organization called Mighty Nepal, who won the CNN Hero Award, and you have been there, seen in your own first-hand experiences, and you have a lot of insight of it. Could you please tell us more about your work in the sexual trafficking of women in Nepal?
Sure. Thank you again for asking these questions. I actually was not that. I mean, I was not interested in this whole sex trafficking industry, this particular issue. So I went to Nepal in 1998 to do my research about the women carpet weavers. So that was my doctoral research. And then in that context, while I visited many factories, when I started to collect data, when I started to read the newspaper, then I discovered that there actually was a linkage between carpet factory and sex trafficking. So that was that's how I got motivated. So that was not my initial interest, or not my initial research research topic, but then I got interested because of the magnitude of the problem, while I was doing my research. So yes, and then I decided to also look into the linkage between human trafficking, or the sex trafficking, and the carpet factories. And then I visited Mighty Nepal, ABC Nepal, Santi Punarstapana Kendra, and then OREC. So I visited many other organizations, and I was very fortunate to actually meet with some of these, the survivors of sex trafficking, and they actually share me their stories with great courage and vision, and it's very, very uplifting and empowering, to me, still to date. Yeah. Because their courage, how they actually got out of that, and how they are trying to build their lives now, is very inspiring. It is.
So was it mostly the traffickers were sending this woman to Asian countries like India, or others, or how do you see America in that context? Was there any problem in America itself also, or just in neighboring countries?
So in that particular case, it was only between India and Nepal. The sex trafficking occurred between India and Nepal, and I was I got opportunity to actually interview Anuradha and Bishu Karka when they were in the US in 2012, and then I was trying to find out the new kind of stories and the other additional factors or the ramifications involving sex trafficking. And now and they did say that now it has moved beyond India. Now these women are also very much they are in demand in Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, and then also the Gulf nations, Gulf nations, including China. So yes, the demand has increased, and in that context, I can tell you that we need to analyze the sex trafficking or the human trafficking case within the context of global stratifications, and the stratification, the regional stratifications in Nepal, and then other inequalities based on social class, gender, ethnicity, and region in Nepal, because there are multiple level of factors that actually contribute to sex trafficking. Gender is not only reason that would contribute to sex trafficking or human trafficking. That is a very important factor, but we need to also analyze how this particular industry actually fosters with the global network of people, with the global when people with the globalizations, with the other structural inequalities.
Right. So, in my own personal observations and experiences in terms of living in Nepal, I have seen this issue more and more, and now there are more organizations working for it. And I wonder, is it really helping or it's actually increasing? The problem is more magnified now than before, or it actually is helping to minimize the problem? How do you see it in terms of your research and your own findings? Has it been
I don't think
helpful?
that we can say this or that. It could be. I think it can be both. It is increasing because of the global demand of these women in different nation state. There is a huge demand of the women and the girls around the globe. So yes, globalization has fostered that. Globalization has actually human trafficking for the sex trade has become the rampant feature of global economy. Right. We need to look into the the what happened when the capitalist when the socialist country collapsed. In what ways that actually factor this human trafficking or the sex trafficking. So we need to look into the role of global restructuring and also the role of the political, social, and then cultural factors within the nation, right? So NGOs are doing great work. They are trying to make this issue globally visible, which was not the case say prior to early 90s, especially in the case of Nepal. And yes, NGOs are definitely doing great job in terms of making this issue, visible to the wider world, right? But that is not. But that is not enough to, sort of prevent the, issue, because it is, we need to look into the other factors also.
Right.
The global network of people who work within and across global boundaries, because there are different players from labor contractor, from pimp and labor, traffickers to the travel agencies and the people who operate, underground. So there are so many actors who are involved with, because it's a very lucrative, business, right? And there's a high demand. So for that reason, the issue is not, getting lesser. It's increasing. But what I'm saying is, NGOs, they are doing amazing work, but then that is not adequate. I think the international community, the global community, within and across global boundaries, they need to work together.
Right. So
And
working
different
only in Nepal is not enough. We need to work in those countries that was that
right.
yes.
Right, and these NGOs, they need support from different sectors in Nepal, from government, from police force, from the academic and educational institutions, including international community, because it's very very big issues. It's a big huge issue, so we need to work together.
Right, right. And those children, in girls and children in Nepal are kind of little bit innocent in a way that they're not exposed to the global changes and concept. Is that fair to say, or what
Um,
what is one big factor that's making them vulnerable?
I mean, people, most of the literature so far in the case of Nepal, they are, saying they cite poverty one of the main reason. But poverty is not only reason. I like to stress that, this, market, this industry is, sort of, fostering, it's getting, so huge because of multiple factors, because of intersecting factors again. The people who work together within and across global boundaries, the again labor contractor and the traffickers and then the businessmen, and sometimes including people in authorities, they are part of it, they are co-opted. So initially, yes, the girls who were being trafficked, say in early late 90s or even mid 80s, they used to be from rural areas and they were not that educated, and they were trafficked en route to from their village to en route to Kathmandu. For example, if they were planning to work, or if they were given a false hope of work in the coffee factory, they were trafficked in that route, right? Okay. So that was the pattern initially. And I'm sure there is this pattern going on, but there are additional patterns also, because some of these girls who are being trafficked now, I'm sure they are not that naive or uneducated, and that's happening. And it's also happening because most of the traffickers, the people who are selling them, are their own fellow villagers, are their own the husband and the male relatives. For that reason, it is also happening.
Okay, I see. So,
and also again, globally also, it's a huge issues in Eastern Europe, and it's huge issues in the US also now. Right. And these are not uneducated girls, these are educated, and there are different factors, the family structure, the broken family, and then and then definitely the gender perceptions about the women, how they are treated, how they are viewed, how women have been seen or taken as a commodity for a long time. All of these factors play into this particular industry.
Right. So this is a huge issue, and probably lot of work needs to be done continuously basis. But for today, because of our time limits, it probably we have to close it at this point. But
sure.
We really admire your very very important work for Nepali women and children, and social work, and society's issues as a whole. And we'd like to thank you for giving your important times, and wish you all the best, and hopefully we'll continue our conversation as you move along with more research work and more important work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'd also like to say that whatever you are doing is also awareness creating. You are also make this these women's stories, their experiences visible. So you are part of it. So thank you for having me, and thank you for providing me this opportunity to share these women's successes and their challenges. Most of all, their courage and their strength.
Yes. You welcome, and you inspire all of us, and it's pleasure to have you here, and we'll continue again, hopefully.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Shova, bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.